Welcome back, bookworms, to the final night of the Mike's Book Reviews End of Year Awards for 2024. Tonight we're taking a look at some of the best. That's the best author, best series, best novel, and much, much more. With that said, let's go ahead and kick things off. Since we picked up our first book as toddlers and we decided not to give it a go because of the artwork on the front, our parents and educators have urged us never judge a book by its cover. In many cases, this turns out to be true. But every once in a while, I like to adjust that to never judge a book by its cover unless it's awesome. Let's go ahead and take a look at the best covers of 2024. Best cover. And the nominees are Trials of Empire, Richard Swan. The Silverblood Promise, James Logan. The Fury of the Gods, John Gwynne. Wind and Truth, Brandon Sanderson. Slewfoot, Brom. And the award goes to Trials of Empire, Richard Swan. This is the second nomination and second win for Richard Swan. Trials of Empire was released in 2024 and is the conclusion to the Empire of the Wolf trilogy, which was a Sunday Times bestseller. There's so much within these genres that truthfully we'll never be able to get to. Most of our backlogs are just miles and miles long. However, it is important to kind of live in the now and make sure you check in once in a while on who has the keys for these things going forward. With that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the best new releases of 2024. Best 2024 release. And the nominees are The Silverblood Promise, James Logan. Lost Man's Lane, Scott Carson. The Fury of the Gods, John Gwynne. Wind and Truth, Brandon Sanderson. All the Fiends of Hell, Adam Neville. And the award goes to All the Fiends of Hell, Adam Neville. This is the second nomination and first win for Adam Neville. All the Fiends of Hell was released in 2024, and Neville is a 5-time winner of the British Fantasy Award. In our next category, this author stands alone as the sole nominee for Best Debut Author. But he doesn't win it by default, and he is quite deserving of the honor. Let's put our hands together for James Logan and The Silverblood Promise. This is the third nomination and first win for James Logan. The Silverblood Promise was released in 2024 and is the first entry in the Last Legacy series. While writing an epic series of books, many authors struggle with the idea of is it better to burn out than fade away? Let your series go on too long, you risk alienating some of your readers. End it too soon and they may have a hard time ever giving anything else you write a try. That said, let's look at the best series of 2024. Series of the Year. And the nominees are Saga of the Forgotten Warrior, Larry Correia. Blackwater, Michael McDowell. The Asian Saga, James Clavell. War for the Rose Throne, Peter McLean. Prince of Nothing, R. Scott Baker. This is a stacked category, isn't it? The winner is Blackwater, Michael McDowell. This is the second nomination and second win for Michael McDowell. Blackwater was released as 6 volumes in 1983 and was met with universal acclaim from critics and peers. Sometimes when you're reading a book, you just know that you're reading something special, something that you're never, ever going to stop thinking about. Characters and places that will never leave your head. But upon reflection, when that arrow is still pointing up, that's when you have something truly, truly worth celebrating. Let's take a look at the best novel of 2024. Novel of the Year. And the nominees are The Darkness That Comes Before, R. Scott Baker. Shogun, James Clavell. World Without End, Ken Follett. Priest of Bones, Peter McLean. Streets of Laredo, Larry McMurtry. And the award goes to, this is a big one, as was the book, Shogun, James Clavell. This is the 6th nomination and 2nd win for James Clavell. Shogun was released in 1975 and has sold 6 million copies worldwide and has won 18 Emmy Awards across 2 adaptations. A truly great author can make us laugh, make us cry, well, they can just flat out ruin our day. Sometimes they take us on journeys that we never knew we needed, but yet we find ourselves longing to go back. From ancient Japan to the swamps of Alabama, these authors took us everywhere in 2024. Let's take a look at the best authors. Author of the Year. And the nominees are Larry Correia, Saga of the Forgotten Warrior. Michael McDowell, Blackwater. James Clavell, Shogun. Peter McLean, War for the Rose Throne. Ken Follett, World Without End. And it's the big one, guys. The winner is James Clavell. What a year. This is the 7th nomination and 3rd win for James Clavell. Shogun was released in 1975 and has sold 6 million copies worldwide and has won 18 Emmy Awards across 2 adaptations. And with that, bookworms, the show is over. Thank you so much. Those who joined us for all 3 nights, you are truly just my favorite. I don't know what else to say. Hopefully you can join us again next year as we celebrate the best of 2025. So thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you soon. Okay, guys, the 3rd and final night is done. A couple of things I kind of want to reflect upon here. I got a list here of everything that was nominated, and I'm looking at obviously 20 total winners out of the categories here. Let's say the most wins was James Clavell. Obviously had a good night here on night number 3. Shogun obviously was a very, very important book to me this year. Larry McMurtry, Michael McDowell, Peter McLean, and Richard Swan all had 2 wins as well. So how about that? Something that I kind of noticed after I put this together, and it's just going to kind of give you a peek behind the curtain here about how I plan to judge things here in the future, is the most nominations for the night was not James Clavell. It was not Peter McLean. It was Ken Follett. World Without End and Ken Follett. He had 9 nominations, 0 wins. Now, obviously, that's not anything I do to diss someone. It's just I think that just kind of tells you how big of a year or how good of a year it was for reading here. And it's one of those where I looked at it after I'd kind of done all the initial numbers. I was like, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't do that to Ken Follett. And then I was like, am I really going to adjust my winners because I want to feel like I got to share the wealth with everybody? No, that's not what I want to do. So I didn't mean to create like a new Susan Lucci out here. That's a deep cut for anyone in my audience that's under 40 that understands the Susan Lucci reference. It's one of those things that's just the way that things go sometimes. Things kind of fall into, that was a little bloated too because there was 2 categories where Ken Follett had 2 participants in each one of them. So that kind of up the number a little bit. But again, I just want people to know it wasn't anything that was meant to be like disrespectful or anything like that. But I'm never going to just, change my winners just to make sure that everybody's getting some love or something like that. And you know what? It's going to make it all that much more sweeter in a few years when I can be like, hey, this is the first win and 22nd nomination for Ken Follett. It'll be all the sweeter, I think, in that time. But this was an interesting experiment here. It's something I kind of want to improve upon in the future years, maybe get like a different backdrop instead of having my books. Maybe, have like a red curtain or something like that. I want to get a podium. Maybe I'll get a teleprompter so I don't have to memorize all those monologues because I said it in my weekly update, but I think if you guys knew how many takes those take, honestly, it doesn't take as many as you'd think. I usually get it on my second or third try if I don't get it on the first one. And I'll go back and look at it. It might not be exactly what I had written down, but, I think I do some of my best work, obviously, without notes. So I just want to make sure that I was kind of saying everything I wanted to say in those monologues. And I guess I could turn my iPad into a teleprompter. I don't know. Again, a lot of this was just kind of just thrown together here at the last second when I realized I was going to do it after I decided I wasn't going to do it. So it was a fun experiment. Again, if you guys lasted through 3 nights of this, hey, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it because, I did notice the first night, I'm sure it was a lot of curiosity and it wasn't enough to bring back at least half of that audience. And I feel like that happens on any award show. If it goes a couple of nights, you see the ratings go down every single night. So I'd expect that probably maybe 2,000 of you are actually watching this one, and that's fine. Something I wanted to make sure that I did go through and finish. And the people that did enjoy it seemed to have really enjoyed it. And I'm happy that I could give you guys kind of that fun. Want to make sure I got some recognition for some categories you don't usually hear about. I mean, everybody does best author, best series, stuff like that. And I do those as well, of course, because it would just feel stupid if you didn't. But I want to make sure I threw in some categories like best animal companion, best couple, things like that. Stuff you don't get at a traditional award show. And these 20 categories is something that can be expanded or kind of, liquidated in the future. I don't know. We'll see. But I think this coming year here, I'll start planning this in like July or August. That way it is a much smoother transition. And I'm not doing it in January for the previous year. I think that'd be the best way to do it. But again, I want to thank you guys so much for joining with this. Let me get dressed all fancy and talk to you about the books that I loved for the year. And I can only hope that 2025 is as good a year as 2024 was. So it was less books read, but the ones I read made a huge impact. And I think that's very easy to see. Looking at some of these nominees, like I couldn't believe. I looking at it, I'm like, how did War for the Rose Throne not win Best Series when it had 8 nominations? Again, sometimes that's just the way that the chips do fall. And the number of nominations doesn't equal better chance. I mean, I guess it equals better chance to win, but it isn't always going to be the case because when it comes down to it, that selection committee is me, myself, and I. No one's helping me do this. So I know there are some complaints about how I only had a single nomination for some things. It's like, for example, I only read 1 short story collection. Who else was I going to nominate besides Stephen King? So sometimes I want to recognize those, and I hope in different years I can read more than 1 novella or 1 short story collection or 1 comic or 1 debut author, But when that's all I did, that's all I can obviously nominate. But these aren't perfect. These aren't science. This is just me doing it on an Excel spreadsheet, guys. It's nothing really fancy. But if I got something wrong, like I realized that I had Blackwater nominated at first for best series and best novel, and I was like, that's not fair. That's unfair. So that's why I took that one out of best novel and let it go into best series because you can't have both. That's just kind of rigging the system a little bit. I want to make sure I'm not doing that. But I know I probably made some mistakes in some of these nominations. And again, if I start this a little earlier next year, maybe I can make sure it's a little more up to code, as it were. So thank you guys so much for watching. And if you've stuck through it this long, you are truly the best, the greatest, and I appreciate you so much. So drop in the comments. Let me know what you thought about the show, what you'd like me to improve upon, what you really enjoyed. Anything, any feedback that you have, I do appreciate it. And I'd love to talk to you down below. So hit me in the comments, guys, and I will talk to you there.